Shalom. We're the Hebrew Israelites, come out here week in and week out to prophesy the downfall of the daughter of Babylon, aka America. But first and foremost, I want to say call Halayim, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Hawakhudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of God Allah Rakayim, which is a great millstone, and the Lashawan Tahar, which is the pure language, where I learned this truth from and who rule well. Salutations to the Bakiyar, the elect, the 144,000. That's 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. 12 tribes of Israel consist of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and indigenous of America. The 144,000 being the governing body. Within the 1/3, the rest of the 1/3 comprises of elect men, women, and children. Shalom to those Israelites scattered due to the diaspora and also the triangular trade. So our people come looking like different ethnicities, having various complexions. So it's not a black thing, we're not the black Hebrew Israelites, we're just Hebrew Israelites. Shalom to those that died in this truth. It says the dead should be raised up first. Those that will be accompanying Yahweh Shah on his return, including our King Mashah, who is King David. And as always, it's an honor and privilege, honor and blessing to continue to do this work. The water Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah Ba'ashem Hawakhudash, for answering my prayers and permitting me to do such. Baba Kashah Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah Ba'ashem Hawakhudash allowed us to be an edifying camp to at least one member of the elect. I'm gonna start with 2nd Esdras, chapter 5, verse 1. It says, nevertheless, as coming the tokens, which the tokens represent the prophecies, behold, the day shall come that they which dwell upon earth shall be taken in a great number. Right, because they made an announcement, which I saw on a video clip, that the National Guard in Nevada is going to the Middle East. You know, so they're calling up a lot of reserves, and soon they're going to implement a national draft to start drafting men and women. And, you know, they also raised the age to 42. You know, and that's just the start. You know, soon they're gonna make even more, I believe the word is concessions, you know, with certain people that, you know, may have not qualified for military service before, but, you know, just as they did in Russia, with Russia's military operation in Ukraine, you know, they started getting manpower from the prison systems. You know, so a lot of you that are in prison might just so be in the near future that they're gonna start drafting you as well, man. That would be a stipulation for you to get your time reduced, you know? But, you know, this World War III is gonna remove or delete a lot of people, man, in the billions. And we're at the initiation, the beginning stages of the beginning of sorrows, right? It says, in the way of truth shall be hidden, right? And you start to see that come into fruition with all these big tech companies being sued, you know, which is, what do they call, a problem reaction solution. You know, they're being sued basically on the grounds of freedom of speech. You know, they're trying to eliminate your freedom of speech here in America, man. You know, especially if you want to gripe or protest about the state of Israel, which was established in the 40s and 50s, you know, due to the Balfour Declaration. You know, but real quick precept, this is Amos chapter 8, verse 11. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, which Yahweh is the true name of the Heavenly Father, which our names have meanings, and Yahweh, his name means he exists. You know, because there's a lot of individuals that believe that there's no God. Well, we're in a time in which he's going to show you that he exists. Right? Real quick This is Psalms chapter 95, verse 1. O come, let us sing unto Yahweh. Let us make a joyful noise to the rock of our salvation. Let us come before his presence with thanksgiving and make a joyful noise unto him with psalms. For Yahweh is a great king, Slakia, for Yahweh is a great power and a great king above all gods. Right, because the gods of this world are nothing but idols. Real quick, Psalms 96, verse 5. I'm going to start at verse 4. It says, for Yahweh is great and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods. And this is the reason why. Verse 5, for all the gods of the nations are idols, but Yahweh made the heavens. So all these nations, these Gentiles, these heathens, their gods are idols, man. They don't exist, you know? But the Heavenly Father, his name means he exists. And he's going to show you his power in these times. It's going to be so bad out here that you're going to know that it's a higher power doing it, man. You know, this is going back to Amos, dealing with, you know, a lot of these big tech companies, you know, that own these social media platforms. You know, they're in litigation in the legal system to restrict freedom of speech. And the main reason is so this word can no longer go out freely, man. You know, so going back to Amos chapter 8, verse 11, it says, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land. Right, and what's going on in the Middle East right now, that's going to produce a nasty famine, and it's going to be global, because a lot of those tankers or those shipping those ships, you know, they carry fertilizer. And a lot of those nations that need that fertilizer, they're not going to be able to grow any food, man. You know? Also, dealing with the war theater, as soon as China, you know, stops relating to the United States, then all these grocery stores, they're going to be empty, man. You know, and that's going to add to the hell, to that judgment. You know? It says, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of Yahweh. So how does the Heavenly Father speak to you people? He speaks to you through his prophets, man. Real quick precept, this is Baruch, chapter 1, verse 17. It says, for we have sinned. Now sin is you breaking the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Heavenly Father, man, which is over 613. You know, that's the definition of sin, transgression of the law, right? It says, for we have sinned before Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, which Yahweh Shai is the name of his son. You know, which his son's name means he saves or he delivers. You know, who the world inly calls Jesus Christ, which the letter J came about in 1524 by an individual named Gasimio. You know, so the letter J didn't exist 2,000 years ago in the land of Canaan, man. You know? But if he would have had an English equivalent name, his name would have been Joshua, right? Verse 18, it says, and disobeyed him and have not hearkened unto the voice of Yahweh our power to walk in the commandments that he gave us openly. Since the day that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, which it was Yahweh Shai that was in a so-called UFO, or UAP, you know, leading our people through the Suez Canal region, the Red Sea, you know, and also using his power to drown the elite guard of, you know, Pharaoh's armies, right? It says, unto this present day, we have been disobedient unto Yahweh our power, and we have been negligent in not hearing his voice. Right, so real soon, they're going to eliminate it, hearing his voice entirely, man. You know, and you people who've been shunning the prophets for all these years, which is a sign and prophecy itself for us to stand upon our feet and prophesy, to say things before that, you know, they take place, right? Which we've been prophesying about this World War III, starting with our elders since the 60s. You know, and now it's considered the fall or the decline of America when they lied and said that they landed on the moon, man. You know, and that's where you had the 70s, and then, you know, you had the drug epidemic, right? And then you had the crack era, you know, and then you had 9/11. Fast forward to what you have going on today, man, right? It says, wherefore the evils cleaved onto us. So evil is a compound word, which Eve meaning time, and ill meaning bad. So bad times are coming, man. And really, for a lot of people, bad times are already here. You know, maybe a week or so ago, even with the gas situation, I think I spent like $5.69, and that's with rewards. So who knows how much it is now, man? It probably have crossed the $6 barrier, which it has crossed the $6 barrier, the $7 barrier in a few states, you know, specifically California, man, which California, their gas is higher because they get a special gas, a special blend of gas. And also they add a gas tax, you know, but that is gonna affect who? It's gonna affect you poor, you know, those that are not financially stable, man, or even established, which is far and few between, man. Because you have these women that always talk about they want a high-value man, but they're not a high-value woman. And they got to make X amount of money a year. Well, that's an illusion, man. The percentage of those that make over 100, over 200, over $300,000 a year is very small, man. You know? And really, women in this society are nothing but, you know, commodities. You know, a pack of Cheez-Its that you probably pick up from the store, man. They don't have any value because, you know, they are operating under the moral compass, the moral code of this damn devil, man. And they live just as he lived when he was in the Caucasus Mountains, man. They have historians, and also going back to this book by Arthur Koestler, who they murdered, right? Called The 13th Tribe, which talks about the Khazarian Empire, man. Which the Khazarians, you know, some went to Russia and some went to Poland, and you know, in Western Europe, also Germany, and that's who are occupying that land, Israel, today, man. They're not the real Jews, right? Let me see if I can find some highlights. Let me bring a few points out. This is page 15, which is the rise, right? It says a few years later, probably AD 740, which AD means Anno Domini, or the year of our Lord. Probably didn't pronounce it right. Slakia. It says the king, his court, and the military ruling class embraced the Jewish faith, and Judaism became the state religion of the Khazars. Which you don't hear about the Khazars anymore, just as you don't hear them talk too much about the Edomites. You know? Well, let me keep going. Oh, here's another one. Page 16, it says migration of Khazar tribes and communities into those regions of Eastern Europe, mainly Russian and Poland, where at the dawn of the modern age, the greatest concentrations of Jews were found. This has led several historians to conjecture that a substantial part, and perhaps the majority, of Eastern Jews, and hence of world Jewry, might be of Khazar and not of Semitic origin, which they are from the line of Shem, but they're the Edomites. You know, the nation in which the Heavenly Father promised no mercy. But let me oh yeah, here's a good one too. It says a Georgian chronicle echoing an ancient tradition identifies them with the host of Gog and Magog, which that's dealing with Russia. You know, and it's really Gog, right? It says wild men with hideous faces and the manners of wild beasts. And this is the time where he was, the serpent was crawling on his belly, man, when he was in the Caucasus Mountains, right? It says eaters of blood. Now, who likes to eat red meat or uncooked meat. You know, most of these nations, they cook their meat until it's well done. And what do they do in this society? They shame you or ridicule you if you don't like your meat medium rare. If you tell them that you want your steak well done, they'll look at you sideways, man. You know, because this is a spirit that he has put upon the people. You know, it says a Armenian writer refers to the horrible multitude of Khazars with insolent, broad, lashless faces and long, falling hair like women. Right. But when you go into the scriptures, you know, Paul said that it's a shame for a man to have long hair. It causes confusion, man. You know, here it is, you might thinking you're looking at a woman and they turn around and it's a man because they have their hair all the way down to their ass, man. You know? So going back to what I was saying about the lewdness of these women and how they act just as the Edomite woman and her, you know, so-called liberty that, you know, she had in those Caucasus Mountains, man. It says, their women wear no veils in the presence of their men or strangers. So they're not covered up, man. You know, anywhere outside of, you know, European so-called white culture, you know, the majority of these women are modest. You know, they're not scantily clad as these American women are, man. And the number one job for these women here in America is OnlyFans, which the creator of OnlyFans recently dropped dead. You know, and that's how a lot of them were making money, making a profit. You know, and you can only imagine who's buying all that, you know, access to that material. You know, and these women are becoming rich, but now you're starting to see laws being passed that they're going to stop all that, man. You know? But it says, nor do the women cover any parts of their bodies in the presence of people. So they'll walk around butt-ass naked, man. Basically the same thing you have here in this society, man. You know, in certain cities here in America, you have something called nudists. People walking around with no clothes on. You know, when I used to go out to San Francisco, you know, you see it all the time, especially when they had those limp wrist parades, man. You know, which that's a tough city to be in, man. A very wicked city, especially if you hate, you know, wickedness, man. It says, one day we stayed at the place of a guz and were sitting around. His wife was also present. As we conversed, the woman uncovered her private parts. So she basically spread her legs, man, like like that movie Basic Instinct. I was trying to think of the actress name. I think it's I know it ain't Sarah Stone. Let me see. Yeah, Sharon Stone. You know, when she spread her legs, that's basically what they were comfortable with doing, man. And they're still comfortable with showing and revealing themselves, man. And now all these women here in America, you know, they have that same spirit on them, man. They want to go out looking sexy and things of that nature, man. You know, trying to attract DNA, dick and attention. You know? It says, as we conversed, the woman uncovered her private parts and scratched them. And we all saw it. Right. So, you know, she spread her legs, showed her snatch, and was scratching at it. Mind you, a lot of these nations, which is a true statement, and it's said in the movie Ace Ventura, I believe it's the second one, and he was saying that the Wachatu, or whatever the tribe name was, never knew disease until the white man came, man. And why is that? Because they bring wickedness. They're lewd. They're the devil the Bible speaks of, right? It says, thereupon we covered our faces and said, may God forgive me. Yeah, because he's looking at the snatch and the woman scratching her snatch of a married woman. You know? It says, the husband laughed and said to the interpreter, tell them we uncover it in your presence so that you may see and restrain yourselves. And the logic behind that is dumb as fuck, man. You know, so they have the woman asshole naked, and they put that temptation, or they want that temptation. They want that temptation for everybody to try to entice them to sin, to end up popping that woman, man. I wasn't saying nothing. And you have to admit, Esau's the ultimate cuck, man. In that movie called Cuck, it's a good movie, man. But Esau, he's the ultimate cuck. You know? You see it with the Epstein files, man. Here it is, you got Trump talking about Mojiba Khamenei, or however you say these people's names. You know? That he may be gay, but here it is in the Epstein files. It said that Trump was giving fellatio to Bill Clinton, man. And probably getting pegged, because, you know, peg or pegging is a big thing, man. And as it has been revealed, it's a big thing among you wannabe gangster niggas, man. Weirdo niggas, man. You know? A lot of you niggas like getting fucked in your ass. And then you got the nerves to try to talk bad about somebody, man. A lot of you niggas, after camp, you're going to go get your backbone out, man. Imagine that. A nigga that you're doing the work with, you know, he's coming to camp acting like, you know, he's right and righteous, and the whole time he's getting his back blown out, man. You got niggas that were blowing other men's back out, calling themselves to be Hebrew Israelites. You know? Showing you the wickedness of this society, man. It says, but it cannot be attained This is better than when it is covered up and yet attainable, which doesn't make sense. And these are the base of men that are ruling today, man. Totally illogical. You know? It says adultery is alien to them, yet when they discover that someone is an adulterer, they split him in two halves. Right. And, you know, these Edomites are known for torturing people, man. Which a lot of you that are going to bow down to the slaughter, you're going to be tortured. You know, and if that's me, if I'm going to be tortured, you know, make me praise Yahweh Ba'Shem Shah, man. You know? And say Tawada and have the spirit, the same spirit that was in the 7 sons and the mother, man. You know? It says this they do by bringing together the branches of 2 trees, tie him to the branches, and then let both trees go, so that the man tied to them is torn in two. Also it says, yet the notes with astonishment, bulgars of both sexes swim naked in their rivers and have a little bodily shame as the goods. You know? So these are the type of people that is ruling this society and in influencing the people, man, and causing the people to sin. And when I'm speaking about the people, specifically the people on this sign, because they're the only ones that can sin, so they can go off, man. That's why this devil gotta go. And hey, the Most High pressed the button on his going. Right? I'm gonna get back to where I was, but let me get this quick pre. This is yeah, I have to get old boy up out of here, man. It's 11 o'clock, man. This motherfucker's sleeping, man. You know? If you're living on the street, you don't got no fucking excuse to be sleeping all the way to 11-something o'clock. You know, everyone gets, yeah, I even wrestle with the same thing. Everyone gets 24 hours in a day, man. What the fuck are you doing in that 24 hour, man? You know, and the way I'm starting to think about that 24 hour, you know, it makes a lot of sense to eliminate wasted time. You know? I had a drink for the first time since last Passover, you know, and I was thinking like, fuck, why the fuck am I wasting my time doing this shit again, man? It's a waste of fucking time, you know, but I said, you know, I'll just, you know, drink a little since it's, you know, the Passover coming. And then after the Passover, I'll wait till next year. You know, because it's not that big of a deal. And then you get sick. You get even sicker thinking about the time you wasted, man. You know? And one of the most time-efficient things that I do is go to the gym for about 3.5 hours, man. And everything is strategic. Everything is calculated. Even the rest period, you know, and when I come out of that, it's not necessarily centered around me being more healthier, but it's trying to establish more consistency and discipline, man. You know? And that's one of the most rewarding things that I do. As far as, you know, optimizing my time. You know, well, really, the first thing is this truth, and the third thing is going to work, man. You know, I can't disrespect my lineage, my father, because he's a hustler, man. You know, and I have the attitude of I'm the leader of my bloodline, man. You know, so for a nigga like that to be sleeping, already homeless, you know, all the way till 10, 11 o'clock, and he would have still been here if I didn't come here, man. You know? But hey, man, that's that lazy nigga mentality, man. You know, you can't be no lazy nigga, and that's something in life that a lot of people haven't figured out yet. You gotta do the shit that you don't want to do, man. You know? But this is Job chapter 30, verse 1. It says, but now they that are younger than I, which Esau, he's younger than Jacob, man. You know? Esau is younger than Jacob. Real quick precept, this is Isaiah chapter 3. I'm going to start at verse 10. It says, say ye to the righteous that it shall be well with him, for they shall eat the fruit of their doings. Should have started up. I'll start at verse 9. It says, the show of their countenance doth witness against them. So, you know, your countenance is your appearance or conduct, which this is from Etma Online, the word countenance, mid-13th century, countenance, behavior, bearing, conduct, manners, outward appearance, looks, demeanor, also way one contains oneself, right? So, just as you can tell if somebody is a limp-wrister, you know, it's by how they look, their manners, the way they speak, the way they talk. You know, how filled with estrogen they are, man. You know? It says, and they declare their sin as Sodom. Now, what happened in Sodom in Genesis 18 and 19 chapters? You know, they were practicing homosexuality, man. You know? Same thing that they do here in America, man. You even got this homosexual limp-wrister trying to stick up for Erica Kirk and get mad about, you know, Juicy. I believe they call it satire comedy. You know, saying that And Barak Yahweh Shum Shah. Saying that they're offended by it, man. Well, the whole world is offended by you, man. You know? The whole world is tired of you so-called white people, man. Fucking demons. You know? So, for you to be mad about Drewski, you know, doing his little skits, you know, so what? The atrocities that you so-called white people have committed and still commit is what's going to get you exterminated, man, according to the Holy Bible, which you don't even believe in. As soon as you get to speaking the truth out of the scriptures and pointing things out, that's when it becomes a fairy tale, man, which is a slap in the face to the people on this sun, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and indigenous of America, because the Bible is your history book, man. So they're basically saying that your history is a mere fairy tale, man. That's why this damn devil gotta go. Going back, it says, Isaiah chapter 3, verse 9, it says, they hide it not. Yeah, these people are open about it, man. It used to be, it was more, you know, in the closet type of shit, man. You know? Now, these people are out of the closet and flamboyant and throwing it all in your face. You know? It says, woe, which means destruction, onto their soul. And that's the reason why they have a high rate of disease, man, or dis-ease in the body, man. You know? It says, for they have rewarded evil unto themselves. And the Most High gave them up to those vile affections, man. You know, but this is all these different wicked demonic spirits that this damn devil was pushing onto his populace, man. Right? And we're here to tell you to break out of that psychological warfare, which really the only way you're going to be able to succeed in doing such things is if you're of the elect. Verse 10, it says, say ye to the righteous that it shall be well with him, for they shall eat the fruit of their doings. So to the righteous, it's going to be well with them. Because the scriptures say you reap what you sow. So if you sow wickedness, you're going to reap wickedness, man. If you sow righteousness, you're going to reap righteousness. You know? Verse 11, woe unto the wicked, which means destruction. It shall be ill with him, for the reward of his hand shall be given him. So the wicked is dealing with you Edomites, man. You know, everything that you've done to these nations is going to be done right back onto you. To the point where they're just going to unload on you, man. They're going to shoot you with everything that they got, completely destroying America, man. It says, as for my people, children are their oppressors. So Esau is considered younger than us, and he's considered a child. And he's our oppressor, man. You know? The nation foolish enough to enslave the people on this side, man, through acts of revenge, right? It says, and women rule over them. Yeah. And it says also, I believe in Jeremiah, a woman shall compass a man. You know? So With some of you men, these women are ruling over you, man. And what's their number one tool? It's that child support, man. So many horror stories from these men that are put on child support, man, or have to go to get locked up behind it. You know, that's a tool that this damn bitch uses to rule over men. You know, and when you get down to the nitty gritty, and you know, not to speak down or shame anybody, but if you haven't popped, I'll say over 40 or 50 women in your lifetime, a lot of you become slaves to the fucking pussy, man. You know, but an individual that, you know, gets a lot of tail, you know, they're really not even into women. And women like a man that acts like they're not interested. You know? You let these dumbass bitches drive. So on the other side, well, okay. The truck is right there. I'll give her that. It says, "O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err." Yeah. You see the destruction that it has caused among our people, man, or among the men of our people, man. You know? It says, "And destroy the way of thy paths." Super trying to compromise us. You know? Going back to Job chapter 30, verse 1, it says, "But now they that are younger than I have me in derision," which goes into ridicule. It says, "Whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock." So their reputation is just not here in this society, but in all the kingdoms, even since the time of Job. They had the reputation of, you know, sleeping and laying down with animals, man. You know? And then, poor thing for that animal, they got to get put to death behind it. And then you got these women that get these dogs, and they be letting the dogs, you know, pop them and lick on them down there and everywhere, showing you how sick you people are, man. And these are the same assholes that want to shake your hand. You know? So I don't shake these fucking people's hands, man. I don't know where your hand's been. It says, "Yeah, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished." For one, and this is the time in which they were in the Caucasus Mountains, man. It says, "For want and famine, they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste," right? "Who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat." So the Most High had them eating herbs, man. And when I was selling plants for, you know, one of the, if not the major plant distributor on the West Coast, you know, every time I would go into like a Lowe's and I had to sell them their garden section shit, you know, it was always an Edomite or perceived Edomite coming up asking for juniper root, which that's in their spirit, because that's what the Most High gave them as meat. So there's certain things that you could put two and two together when you're identifying, some of these people, man. It says they were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief. And you're starting to see how, everywhere they go, they cause chaos and wickedness. And this is the chief one is Amalek, man. It says to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks. And that's the setup that they like, man. They like being in the caves. They like mountain climbing, cliff hanging, They like high-rise buildings, 100-story high, That's the spirit that is in these people, man. And we can identify that spirit through the scriptures. It says among the bushes they brayed, and that's how they communicated, man, with grunts. The Most High brought these assholes low, and he's gonna bring them at a lower level than a roach. Because a roach is gonna have purpose in the kingdom of heaven, man. A roach is gonna have a place in the kingdom. But unlike a roach, Esau, he has an expiration date, man, where he's gonna be exterminated. It says, under the nettles they were gathered together. They were children of fools, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. So, the word vile, late 13th century, morally repugnant, morally flawed, corrupt, wicked, of no value, of inferior quality, disgusting, foul, ugly, degrading, humiliating, of low estate, without worldly honor or esteem. And that's the spirit that the Most High is putting out there, that the whole world is seeing now, man. You had Uganda that said if the state of Israel, if its existence is threatened, that they're gonna jump in on the side of the state of Israel, man. And then you had one of those Uganda people from Uganda supporting Iran. These people are the reason why there's so much wickedness going on in the earth, man. So going back to 2nd Ezra, chapter 5, verse 1, it says, nevertheless, as come in the tokens, behold, the days shall come that they which dwell upon earth shall be taken in a great number, and the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith. So the way of truth is going to be hidden, man. And the land is going to be barren of faith. Because the elect are a small number, man. And most of these people, they're going to die real soon, man. They're going to succumb to their wickedness. You know? And let me finish up Amos before I forget. Because, you know, they're already putting this in motion, man. They're setting the stage for the elimination of freedom of speech. And also, there's talks about banning the Bible. The Bible is a very powerful book. Carnegie in the book of Eli told you that. But going back to Amos chapter 8, verse 11, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of Yahweh. Let me finish that up. How is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua speaking to you? Baruch chapter 1, verse 21 says, nevertheless, we have not hearkened unto the voice of Yahweh our power, according unto all the words of the prophets whom he sent unto us. According to all the words of the prophets, man. You know, those that say things before it happens and it actually comes to pass. Right? But every man followed the imagination of his own wicked mind or heart to serve strange gods. All these different idols, which we already established, they don't exist. And to do evil in the sight of Yahweh our power. Hey, Barak Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, the water Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, Salak Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. 1144. So that's how the Most High is communicating with you people. Men that come out here and teach this word on the street corners, man. And then, you know, you could see them on different social media platforms. Which, you know, I operate off mainly YouTube and Rumble. I have to look for my daily motion pages. And I think I have an Odyssey page too. You know, there was a point in time where they were just clipping everybody's pages, man. I used to upload the elder sit-downs and either their sit-downs or their camp videos. Those pages got took down. I probably had at least since the time of being in the truth, maybe about 50 pages deleted. So that proves that this is a spiritual operation. We're spiritual operatives in a spiritual war, right? It says that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of Yahweh. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of Yahweh, and shall not find it. So you people are going to be scouring these streets, looking for the true men, the true prophets. And the Most High is going to hide them, man. There's going to be a time when nobody's going to be out here anymore, man. It's just going to be a lot of cries and a lot of screams, man. Of even you grown muscle-bound niggas, man. It says, in that day shall the fair virgins and young men faint for thirst. And the thirst that they're trying to acquire is the truth. And they're not going to have any. They're not going to have that wisdom and knowledge and understanding to stabilize their mind. Because a lot of these people, man, as these gas prices, as these food prices continue to skyrocket, a lot of these people are already in the struggle theater. You know? Driving a lot less. You know how, gas is high? You don't see too many people, speeding and revving their engines as much anymore, man. They pretty much nipped that in the bud. It says, they that swear by the sin of Samaria and say, thy power, O Dan, liveth, and the manner of Beersheba liveth, even they shall fall and never rise up again. Right? Because as it says, as we read earlier, many shall be taken in a great number. Verse 2, but iniquity, which is sins upon sin, shall be, 2 Ezra chapter 5, verse 2. But iniquity, which is sins upon sins, shall be increased above that which now thou seest. So, you have to understand that all these hours that have gone by in 2 days that have gone by in the spirit world, and the insight of the Heavenly Father, he's seen all Esau's wickedness, man. So he's seen the increasement. And now we're at the time where he's gonna, put his foot in Esau's ass, man. It says, or that thou hast heard long ago, in the land that thou seest now to have root, because when you have root, that's your foundation. America has root, it's founded, it has a foundation, right? Shalt thou see wasted suddenly, right? It's only going to take an hour for America to be destroyed, man. Read 2 verses, verse 10 and verse 17 in Revelations 18, chapter 18. This is Revelation chapter 18, verse 10. It's windy out here. It says, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, which is going into America, where Babylon, in Hebrew, Babel, means confusion, man. There's nothing but confusion here, man. And that's how Esau likes it. It says that mighty city, and the entirety of America is considered a city. That's why you are an American citizen, no matter what state that you're in, right? It says, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. So it's only going to take an hour for this place to get wiped off the face of the earth, which they committed 250 plus years of slaughter. Jumping down to verse 17, it says, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. You know? And what are they doing? They're always talking about how they're going to send a particular nation back to the Stone Age. Well, America is not even going to experience a Stone Age, man. It's never going to be inhabited again. It's going to be a monument on how not to be. It says, in every shipmaster, you're starting to see the importance of these shipmasters, man. You know? It says, in all the company, in ships, and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? You know? So when America gets whack-a-mole by 200 million warheads, you know, those ship masters, which a lot of them, you know, they transport millions and billions of dollars worth of shit. You know, they're going to be standing, or not standing. Well, yeah, you could say they'd probably be standing on their ship, you know, watching America on fire, man. Burning. The number one superpower, the number one economic force in the world, destroyed, man. Saying what is like onto this great city America, right? Going back to 2nd Ezra chapter 5 verse 4, but if the Most High grant thee to live, so you have to be granted to live, man. You know? A lot of you people, y'all gonna be out of there, man. And if I'm wicked, I need to be out of there. And I want to be out of there if I'm wicked. You know, but as long as the Most High has a spirit on me, I'm gonna always delight in doing the right thing. No matter what anybody says. Because can't none of you niggas answer anybody's prayers. It says, but if the Most High grant thee to live, thou shalt see after the third trumpet that the sun shall suddenly shine again in the night, and the moon thrice in the day, and blood shall drop out of wood, which is dealing with the destruction, and the stone shall give his voice. And you see that in the war zones going on in Asia Major and Asia Minor, man. You know, dealing with the destruction. And the people shall be troubled. And even he shall rule whom they look not for, that dwell upon the earth. And the fowls shall take their fight away together. And the Sodomitish sea shall cast out fish and make a noise in the night, which many have not known, but they shall all hear the voice thereof. There shall be a confusion also in many places, and the fire shall be oft sent out again, and the wild beasts shall change their places, and minstrous women shall bring forth monsters. You know? Real quick precept, this is 2nd Ezra chapter 8 verse 1. And he answered me, saying, the Most High have made this world for many, but the world to come for few. I will tell thee a similitude, Ezra's. And you know, this world is designed for many, as under the lines of, you know, these Gentile nations, man. But the few for the world to come is only for the nation of Israel to be the sole nation on earth, man. Because these heathens, they're going to be slaves for 1,000 years. You know? It says, as when thou askest the earth, it shall say unto thee, that it giveth much mountain whereof earthen vessels are made, but little dust that gold cometh of. Even so is the course of this present world. There be many created, but few shall be saved. Right? So there's only going to be a small number of elect men, women, and children that are going to be saved, man. I'm going to jump down to verse 50 in the same chapter. It says, for many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter time, which we're in the latter times, shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. And one of the best examples of walking in great pride is Donald Trump, man. You know, who now is putting his signature on the dollar bill in the same spirit as Nero. You know? So going to 2nd Ezra chapter 15 verse 1, it says, behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy. And that's what the Most High set men up to do. And he sets certain men to do that exact thing before he destroys the place. Real quick, this is Jeremiah chapter 28 verse 8. The prophet which prophesied for peace, Slakia, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence. And that's what we out here doing, man. We've been telling you about World War III. Before COVID was COVID, we were warning about COVID, man. You know? I was locked in personally, remembering that summer that Donald Trump had beef with China, and then you had soldiers, a contingency, I guess, go over there that November, and this was in 2019, and then all of a sudden on the news that December going into January, you were seeing footage of people just dropping dead in China, man. And then you have this whole big outbreak, which was nothing but a psyop, man. You know, to get you people in line to get that jump shot, man. You know, which was nothing more but a test run for the MOTB, man. The micro C hip. You know? And, you know, they're going to have another disease that's going to have a high mortality rate, man. That's going to get a lot of you people up out of there, man. Verse 9, it says, the prophet which prophesied for peace, which you have a lot of these individuals that have the spirit on them to do that. To prophesy of prosperity, prophesy of peace. Things are going to get better. Well, things have gotten worse. You know, there ain't no peace, right? It says, when the word of the prophet shall come to pass, then shall the prophet be known that Yahweh have truly sent him. So it's now being known that, you know, the elect men of Great Millstone and those that have that doctrine, right? That, you know, they've been correct, they've been accurate. 2 Ezra chapter 15 verse 1, it says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua." So he's putting the words in our mouths, man. The words of prophecy, man. And cause them to be written in paper. Most High commissioned that. For they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee, or those wicked inventions. Let not the incredulity, which is unbelief, of them trouble thee that speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. And come to find out, the mass majority of you niggas is unfaithful, man. There's a lot of you niggas that claim to be Israelites that don't even believe in the truth, man. It's just a club to go hang out at. If nobody was hitting your number, banging on your phone, sending you text messages to warn you about certain days that you need to perform, you wouldn't even do the work, man. You have to have a certain spirit of dedication in you. The Most High has to guide you. The Most High has to direct your steps in the paths of righteousness. But a lot of you don't have no confidence in the Heavenly Father, man. And that's why a lot of you're going to get clipped. And, I have to say my faith has increased through loss and going through adversity and catching hell and being humiliated, being shamed. My faith has increased, beyond Stockholm syndrome, to the point where if I die, I die. As long as it's the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, let his will be done. Who the fuck am I? Right? It says, "Behold, saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction." And even those missiles are plagues, man. Getting hit with I hit a nigga with a ballistic missile earlier today. I'll be playing that the Conflict of Nations, World War III. I had to hit him with a ballistic, man. Hopefully, in a couple of days I'll be a nuclear armed state, man. And guess who I'm gonna hit first? Even though they already got conquered, I'ma still hit their ass anyway, man. It says, "For wickedness have," and it's hella funny because in the game you could have a coalition, and an individual that joined my coalition, he was allies with the state of Israel, and he said they got wiped out real quick, man. He was like, they were like the first to go. And I kind of laughed. I was like, damn, everybody, even in this game, everybody want to hit up Israel, man. Because I for sure was going to nuke their ass as soon as I had the technology, But verse 6, it says, "For wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled." Right? Going back to that measure. The wickedness have to get to a certain measure before the prophecies can kick in, man. Now we're not telling people to prepare. We're telling them that it's here. And to be quite frank, I don't got no gold, I don't got no silver, I don't got no buku money, I don't got no guns, I don't got no knives. Shit, tomorrow I could be homeless, man. It could all go to shit real quick in an instant, and I'll have nothing but except one thing, and that's the belief in Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, man, and understanding that I already been in this situation before, man. Grandma's crib, niggas, no. Already been through these situations before, man. To have nothing, to only be walking with faith, man. That's my most prized possession, to be able to call upon Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, and he answers, man. And I believe that he answers. And I see it being manifest in life that he answers, man. And that's all I need, man. All while a lot of you bugging out about not having a fucking job. And I'm excited about having a day off. Shit. But that's the thing. What were you building up? What were you preparing for, man? What were you preparing for? And would you still do it? Would you still believe if you didn't have a fucking camp to go to? Would you still do the right thing and say the right things despite people looking at you a certain kind of way, man? Mainly from my situation, I believe on lies and bullshit. But I think the only reason why sometimes I lash out is because the whole time, all I wanted to do was just do the work. Week in and week out, year after year, decade after decade, all was done was just a bunch of shit talking. A bunch of lies, a bunch of false peace, basically just playing or thinking you're playing with my emotions, man. Not understanding that, according to Nomen Omen, the Most High blessed me with the name Isaac, man, strong unto death, man. And then, you got niggas that don't do no fucking research, and they want to point at my government name. My government name's spiritual too. My first name means where the willows grow, the willow tree, the willow estate. And my middle name is Michael, or Michael. And you already been hearing about the power in that name. So my faith has made me fearless. Because fear is a sin. The only one you are to fear is Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. And then how do you show you fear? By praying unto him and praying to him to put a righteous spirit in you, man. To lead your paths into righteousness. I didn't want to come out here today. It was mandatory. It was life or death. It was, you better go out, you better get out there and show them you got a pair. And that's all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. It says, therefore, saith Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness. And that happened in the 60s. When brothers start going out and teaching. And I knew about the Israelites. They were like my heroes. Because I lived in Clovis, California, which is one of the most racist motherfucking cities in all fucking America, man. Which they have a saying that when the signs turn brown, you better turn around. You know? Which the house next door, before they moved, they used to have KKK meetings right next door, man. I remember as a kid, it was always some back and forth confrontation with them fucking Edomite neighbors. Or it could have been Jake, I don't know. You know, looking back, I know they had a badass daughter, man. And if I wasn't a young whippersnapper, you know, I would have tried to pop her that one day. I was dancing to Michael Jackson in the backyard and she was looking over the fence. You know? But, yeah, man. Lost my train of thought. But, I'll continue. It says, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely, which means outside the temple, commit. Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just, which is the elect, complain continually. You know? So, it even says that our spirit makes intercession, makes groanings that cannot be uttered, man. Oh, yeah. Going back to what I was saying, I remember seeing the Israelites on, I think it was Jerry Springer, one of those television shows. And I was like, damn, they were going up against the Ku Klux Klan and all the other, you know, racist, so-called white supremacists, you know, which all that Ku Klux Klan and even their attire, it came from so-called black people, man. There's nothing original about this damn devil, man. When you actually go into the true history. And he did a lousy job trying to fabricate his own reality of history, man. You know, and then I remember when I was around 6 or 7, I always say those ages, 'cause that's how old I think I was at that time. They were talking about the Israelites and the 144,000 on the radio, man. And that was a real ear perker. You know, and despite me not having a well-set stomach for Christianity, I always was a defender of righteousness, man. Even when I was growing up. You know, I might not have been the most worldly motherfucker according to a lot of you and your standards, you know, but I always defended the gospel, man. Just can't defend against this wind. Which I ain't complaining because it's about to start getting hot as hell out here. Which is it's a different type of heat than in California. Because this is a desert, so it's a dry heat. But, you know, I'm looking forward to it if I indeed stay out here. Because, you know, I want to try to burn the rest of this weight, man. You know? But, it says, and therefore saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, I will surely avenge them and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. And that's exactly what's happening, man. Even dealing with these immigration centers. You know, it's come to find out that they're killing them, man. You know, they're destroying them, offing them, disappearing them. You know, probably eating them too, man. Because this damn devil, he has a taste for human meat. And, you know, it might have to be said, a lot of you people out there, including myself, had have a taste for human meat, man. Because they put it in your McDonald's. They put it in your Burger King. They put it in your In-N-Outs. All those different fast food, convenient, you know, get it out quick. That's a good way to dispose of body. You know, they're all wrapped around the block, man. Of people having a taste for, you know, a beef patty. You know, which they're doing all these different tests. A lot of the times it's not even meat. You know, which goes back to you shall eat poison and live, man. You know, all we eat is even the things that we deem to be so-called healthy, right? That shit is tainted, man. The water is no good. You know, you don't be having minerals, the vitamins that it's supposed to have, just like the earth doesn't have all the things that it needs to have in order to yield its full strength. You know? And here it is, you niggas is worried about getting a better job. You know? I treat this like I'm sticking it to this damn devil coming out here or doing sit downs and things of that nature. You know? And sometimes I find myself mad at Saul for not obeying orders, man. But I take that anger and make sure that I'm doing the best that I can, man. And if I'm not doing the best that I can, praying for forgiveness from Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai and asking for the Spirit to do the best that I can, man. You know? It says, behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not, and let's look up that word slaughter, because I don't think I looked it up. When I did my previous sit down, this is the word slaughter, 13th century. The killing of a person, murder, the killing of large numbers of persons in battle, right? And we all should know that there's a difference between killing someone and murdering someone. Yahweh Shah is not coming back to murder people. He's coming back to righteously kill. You know? It says, I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt, which that Egypt is talking about America, man. You know? It says, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite America with plagues. So America's gonna get hit with plagues, man. As it already is. As before, and will destroy all the land thereof. Just as we were reading in Revelation, the 18th chapter, it's only going to take an hour for this country to be wiped off the face of the earth, man. Attention. You know? Verse 12, it says, America shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. So the Heavenly Father is going to punish this place, man. You know, he's the real punisher. Right? They that till the ground shall mourn, for their seeds shall fail through the blasting in hell and with the fearful constellation. Right. So these farmers, not only are they being shafted by the closure of the strait, you know, they were already being shafted by, you know, different articles of legislation, man. Then you had the fires, you know, burning their farms and burning their livestock. And then you had it. They had to euthanize a lot of their animals. So the American farmer is on the ropes. Verse 14, it says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. So there's going to be a lot of destruction that is going to take place all throughout this world, man. Especially here in America. It says, for the sword, and the ultimate sword is the waster, which is the ICBM, the nuclear missile, right? And their destruction draweth nigh. As each and every day passes, we get closer to that day where these leaders, they're going to press the button on this place, man. They're going to whack-a-mole. They're going to be playing nuclear whack-a-mole. It says, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. So there's going to be a civil war here in America as well. You know, everybody's going to be getting their Call of Duty on. You know, they call it the purge, right? It says, for there shall be sedition among men. Another word for sedition is basically anarchy, man. Which they have a 1995 Illuminati car called Kill for Peace, where you have LE or law enforcement on their knees, man. So a lot of you law enforcement, you're going to be getting 86 when all hell breaks loose and there's a collapse. No. It says, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Right, so you're going to have people getting kidnapped. You know, senators, which you had that big story a couple years ago, of one of those senators or Congress people, you know, let me see if I can bring that story up. Got the Nancy Guthrie. No, she got kidnapped. But there was another story. Let's see if I can fucking weak. Always having a bitch lead the way. That's how you could tell if a weak ass nigga. You know, always got his bitch walking in front of him, leading the way. I wonder if she died. Oh, she's just still missing, I guess. You know, but hey, that's a form of invading one another. And then you're also gonna have home invasions when things get scarce. You know? And shit, if they invade my shit, they might feel bad. And come back and give me some shit to put in the refrigerator. No, I'm just joking. No, I got shit. I haven't missed I ain't missed a meal, man. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. And that's with or without a job. You know, so you gotta count your blessings sometimes, man. Verse 17, it says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Right, they're gonna be on martial law lockdowns. They even said that the next lockdown is gonna be way worse than what happened in 2020. You know? Hey, Barak Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, the water Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, Shalak Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. It says, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Right, and wait till they go to war with China and Russia, man. And they start shooting ballistic missiles on this motherfucker, man. People are gonna be afraid, man. When they do cyber attacks and the power gets shut off. And they're also saying something big is gonna happen this Passover, man. You know, something concerning a star. You know, which Esau, he's all into that astrology shit. You know? But from past experiences, blessed and fortunate enough to participate going on, 16 Passovers? There's always something major that happens around this time, man. So, Yahushua Ratazah, something does happen around this Passover, man. Yahushua Ratazah, I'm blessed enough to participate in this coming Passover. You know, because it is a blessing. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation, man. So there's going to be a lack of bread, man, a famine. You know, that's going to transpire. And it's all because of this asshole Donald Trump, man. And this is the mind state of these damn devils, man. The Most High is flipping the switch on their ass. He's causing these devils to err. You know? Let me see. I'm going to jump to 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 18. It says, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear. right? The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? Right? So we're in the beginning stages, man. And it's just going to continue to get worse and worse. You know, so I'm going to go ahead and end it on that. Y'all, Sharatazah. Be back out here tomorrow. You know, so hopefully at least one brother of the hopeful elect was edified. And I'm going to say shalom.